Hello and welcome to Access Sportsnet Lakers, driven by your Southern California Honda dealers. I'm Allie Clifton, joined by the Hall of Famer, Big Game James Worthy, 7-time champ, Big Shot Robert Horry, our Laker insider, Mike Bresnahan. Mike Trudell will be handling the post-game locker room at MSG. An interesting one, guys, if you will, a tale of two halves. Lakers come out with a better sense of urgency and effort to start the third. In fact, outscore the Knicks 61-47 through the second and third quarters alone. No LeBron James, as we know, a very under the weather Anthony Davis based off of his performance. But it's tough to not look at the start of this one. Big game. I'm going to read you some numbers. 36-20. They trailed the Knicks after one. They have now trailed in 14 of 19 games after the first 12 minutes. And you look, when you climb yourself all the way back into this one, tie it up, they're in the third. The urgency, the effort from the jump wasn't there, and you need it, especially when you're on the road.
Yeah, I mean, when you're on the road and you know you're without, LeBron and a couple other key players that are still injured, your sense of urgency has to be to have a good start at the beginning of the game. And to allow New York to come out, I think they shot like 58% from the field or something in the first half. You know, they got a lot of free throws. They shot like 83% from the free throw line, and they were getting, extra possessions on the rebounding too. So I was very disappointed. After what they experienced in Detroit, I thought that would jumpstart them. They seemed like they get a little bit closer there as a team, but you can't come out and be down 25 against New York and expect to have, any success. Now, I give them credit. They fought back pretty hard, but yeah, you can't dig a ditch that deep against a team that good.
For me, I know the Lakers always talk about how teams are going to come out and play them hard. And for me, this out the block. So you got to find a way to match that energy. For you to start this game 0 for 10, 0 for 10, or 0 for, you can't have that, especially when you're on the road like this. You got to come out with some energy. You got to throw the first punch. And I know sometimes they try to figure it out what we're going to go to AD, we're going to shoot three, what are we going to do? You need to have a design set 3 or 4 plays in every game. We said we're going to run these to give us some energy. Now the team knows exactly what we're doing. We have some consistency. When they start these games, there's no consistency. That's one thing I loved about when LeBron and Mr. McGee was in the game. We was going to get those first 2 points of the game because we was going to throw that lob to Mr. McGee, or we was going to get a score. And so they have to find some kind of consistency when they come out the gate. They can't just sit back and say, oh, are you going to score? We're going to score. It's fine with that, but find a play you're going to run and know what's going to happen.
We talk a lot about the third quarter and what a problem it's been for the Lakers. We might need to start adding the first quarter as well. Allie, like you said, they've only won 5 of the 19 first quarters. That's tough. Again, you're giving a nice little boost to the other team, and the game's barely started. Tonight, they really took that to the opposite extreme. James, I'm with you. I thought the Detroit game might have been a good rallying point for the Lakers, but I did say yesterday on some of our shows, let's wait. We need to see if this team can indeed put together not just a good game or two, but a good couple weeks, because there's been so many stops and starts, and okay, they're onto something, and then they fall back. I mean, this team is 9-10. We're just a few days from Thanksgiving here, so right now it kind of is what it is. LeBron James has missed half the season. He's back tomorrow in Indy. Try to finish that 5-game trip on a positive point, but for now, there's just not enough continuity. There's not enough consistency. One game in Detroit, that's great. It's a nice comeback against a team that was 4-11. Got to keep that in mind. Need to see a lot more of those strung out over a couple of weeks.
Yeah, for a team that's really fighting for consistency at the start of this road trip, and we all knew the Lakers had played their first 12 of 15 games at home, and going on the road, we thought that this would bring them together. There was a lot of hope, expectation coming out of that Detroit win, of course, outscoring them 37-17 in the fourth quarter. How tough is it when you are putting yourself in a hole like the Lakers did tonight? You work to get back to the point that you were, and then you got the Knicks. It's a game of runs. And so then to be able to finish it off on a high note, what does that take?
Yeah, you got to be tough. You got to be tough mentally. You got to be tough physically. And sometimes this team doesn't show that. They show it in spurts, like when they get down 25 points, oh, we got to get tough now. You got to be tough all the time. You got to be tough on the way over there on the bus, on the plane, off days. You got to build that up. And they got to figure out what they want to do in particular times of the game. At the beginning of the game, we talked about analytics pregame in the paint. Why not run your first 3 plays boom, boom, boom. You got to establish yourself. They don't establish themselves. They always wait until they get hit. Then Vogel's got to call a timeout, and then they got to figure out, okay, now we want to play. So they got to figure out who they are at the beginning of the game and not get down. And I think the only way they can do it is they got to take it in the paint where they're getting a lot of success and show the teams that they're willing to play physical and then, go from there.
I totally agree. You know me, James, about scoring in the paint. I always felt like when you have a big like AD who can score in the paint, and it doesn't have to step out of threes. I know in this day and age, this game is built around the perimeter, and they need AD pulled out so they can have some driving lanes. But if you got guys in driving and you're kicking and you're not scoring, you got to go flip a script and go inside and let AD get some post-ups because he's a dominant scorer in the paint. If you look at that team, there's nobody on that team that shouldn't be able to stop him. Now, I know he was a little under the weather, but still, though, you can still come out and go in the paint and make that team collapse because you know Thibodeau. Thibodeau has a type of mind like, I'm not going to let you beat me, so I'm going to send someone in the trap. Then you kick it out, then you pass it, then you get open shots because these are the games like you got Elton, you got Carmelo. These guys are excellent spot-up shooters, and this is a way to get those easy shots so they can knock down those threes.
Ellie, I want to talk about THT. So he missed the first almost month of the season because of thumb surgery. First 3 games, averaged 23 points a game. He looked great. No LeBron in those games, of course. Last 3 games, he's averaging 3 points a game. 0 for 8 tonight. Just could not get his shot going. Maybe he's pressing a little bit, James. He's trying to maybe show that he deserved that big contract. It came easily the first 3 games, but the Lakers had Russell Westbrook. He stepped up tonight. He was good. AD gave it a shot. Not real good in that first quarter. Kind of came alive at parts the rest of the way. But I feel like there's nobody else out there really helping them. A couple buckets from Avery Bradley, but THT needed to be that guy, and it just did not happen for him tonight. Just as you see the numbers there, scoreless, and like I said, 0 for 8, guys.
I think we can add a little context here, too. I think there's a lot of expectations, and we say it often, and it's not an excuse. THT is still 20 years old. Doesn't turn 21 until November 25th.
Thursday.
And with that said, there's been, along with him trying to find his role, trying to see what it is he can do for this team on both ends of the floor, being told that they need him to be one of the team's best defender, coming back from injury. There's also a lot of change in the starting lineup, a lot of change in the rotation. He's being put in the starting lineup. He's being told to come off the bench. And again, this is no excuse, but I think these are the bumps and bruises that young guys in this league, you expect them to have. But you also, with THT and the guys around him and his willingness to learn, to maybe not have him as much. So I think right now it's still such a learning process for him.
It is. You're absolutely right, Al. There's a lot being thrown at him, as a young, talented player. But he's shown us that he can handle it, and until he can't, they're going to keep demanding from him. The other thing about Tucker is that he's not an unknown anymore. And when you go up against a coach like Thibodeau, they pay special attention to him because they know he's a X factor, and I think they know he likes to drive that nobody likes to do. So the more success you start to have in this league, no matter how young you are, your name's going up on that pregame. We can't let this guy do it. I thought tonight they were waiting for his drives. They forced him to hit some, take some tough shots. And to combine what you said, being young and inexperienced, and then having an experienced defensive coach take away your stuff, and the whole league knows about him now. So he's going to run up against this, from night to night when he's playing.
Big Game, that's a great point. Coach Tibbs, we know, proven leader, coach when it comes to the defensive side of basketball.
And he ain't going to let no young guy do it.
Nope.
No way.
Yeah, he's a great defensive coach. We talked about that in the pregame show. With Thibodeau, he's one of those guys who's going to key in defense. He's going to make you beat him with something that you're not, used to doing. And when you have a coach that says, we're going to put you in a bad position, put you in an awkward position, and make you score. And we've watched THT, he played good defensively. The one time he fell down and got a turnover. But if you watch him, I think the shots he took tonight were a couple of bad shots. That 1-3 we just showed in the clip, he's like 8 feet behind the three-point line. That's the one where you pump fake, you drive. And so he has to understand, everybody knows who he is. Now change your game up. Every player, every great player in this league has a go-to move. But now you have to have a counter.
If LeBron had been playing tonight, it may be a different game plan. But with LeBron out, Thibodeau says, this guy. We're not giving him anything, and so that's the way you get coached again.
Yeah, Ali, you and I talked about pregame. He's got to be more like a Kuzma mindset. Kuz was in and out of the starting lineup for a couple years, actually. The first year, I think it bothered him because he was kind of demoted to the reserves after AD came on board. He's got to understand that, but it happened. But I thought this past season, last year when he was with the Lakers, he rebounded. He played really good defense, kind of surprisingly good